Hi, welcome to Dominate Your Day. I'm Dana Williams. I'm an executive coach who loves helping leaders discover their authentic purpose. Join me here on Dominate Your Day for conversations that ignite internal revolution and empower difference makers to lead from their strengths. Let's together create lasting impact. Welcome to Dominate Your Day. I'm thrilled to introduce you to Landi Jac. She was a real inspiration in this talk today. And I think you're going to find some great tips, some trends about what's going on in the marketplace. Landi is a speaker. She's a keynote speaker, and she works across multiple countries, industries, and cultures. And she's developed a deep understanding of the dynamics of modern business and what a world class mindset looks like. So, we talk today about mindset. We talk about what's going on in the workplace. We talk about how to find your unique, authentic self. And we really actually got into some trends going on that I thought were fascinating because she's traveling, she along with her husband Mike are traveling all over the world doing their work, doing exactly what they love doing. They've designed their life around their business, around their life. And what's really cool is some of the trends she's seeing, I'm starting to see as well. And that's local communities, private membership groups, personalizing, like no more experts. It's more about using your expertise to make connections. So hang on. This is a great visit with Landi, and you'll learn how she and Mike developed their core values and how they use that in their personal life and their business. Welcome, Landi Jac, to Dominate Your Day. So understand that you're a world traveler. You've been all over the place as you work. Where are you
Dana, we're
today?
in Cape Town
Or
actually, and the way I'm sitting here looking at you, I can see the ocean here behind my computer, and we're actually about to enter winter. So, and we have a beach with a bunch of people on there, and I'm actually quite surprised. So, in Cape Town here until the 10th of June, and then we're hitting the road again.
so you and your husband have created and just designed your life around a neat business that you can do together. But I want you to share with the audience how you got to where you are today. What happened? What were the pivots that happened in your life as you started and you were in corporate and then you left that and did some consulting and then yeah, bring us into your
Thank you,
story.
Dana, and thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be here with your viewers and listeners. One of my biggest pivots may be surprising to you because I went to varsity to study a general degree. I didn't know what to want to do with my life, and I'm mentioning it because there's so many people who still don't know what to do with their lives, and it discourages them big time, right? But I didn't know, so I thought I'm just going to study something that's general. And in my honors year, I was actually approached by a man in a black suit in the cafeteria, and he sat me down and he said, "You Landi Jac, can we have a conversation?" And I said to him, "Sure." And it turns out he's from the Secret Services, and he tried to recruit me as a spy. Yeah,
Oh,
no, he called it industrial espionage, and he just talked to me for an whole hour about being that. And I have no idea where he come from. I know these days where he came from now, but I didn't know then. And he wanted me to be an industrial spy. He wanted me to go to corporate, to one bank, then I collect information, I give it to another bank. By the graces of God, I said no. But it made
whew,
me very
yeah.
curious about the corporate world and what's going on there. So I started there in boardrooms, figuring out what's happening in boardrooms. Why is it so important what's happening up there that you would recruit people for a job like that? So I did corporate. I did 10 years of corporate, went out of there at some stage, and then into entrepreneurship. I had to, I was really getting tired of corporate. I was doing a lot of drug busts in corporate. How I got into that, I don't know. I mean, I was doing human capital management and health and safety and performance improvement and that, but they seemed to constantly ask me to do drug busts. So I got a bit of I got a bit of tired of that, and I got a bunch of death threats. And then from there on, went into entrepreneurship, Dana, and then started working my way up locally, one town, then two towns, then a first country, then a second country, then a third country, and so on. And when I met my husband, that got accelerated quite a lot, because we believe in 1 + 1 = 11. So we were able to magnify our brand more, and that just started to explode, because then we were combining, giving solutions to people, but also with the brand that goes with a power couple and a love story, and traveling with that. And I think it just created a lot of novelty with people, to the point where we've developed quite a following now, where people are saying, look, but they also want love in their life, and they also want their business to grow, and they also want to travel.
Landi, there's something we talk about here at Dominate Your Day a lot, and it's like, are you living your day by default, or are you designing your day? And what I hear in your story is you've designed your day. So you met your husband 11 years ago, but probably 13, 14 years ago. Did you have any idea you'd be doing what you're doing now and have a following of 23,000 on LinkedIn and just travel, use your love of travel to be all over the world and do your business? Would you have ever thought that could have
No, I
happened?
didn't. And I think it's inspiring to say that, because, a big part of our message is to play a bigger game. And a big part of that message also is that, you can't even comprehend what's waiting for you. Let's say 50% of that you plan and you design, and that is the proper human thing to do. And I encourage that as well. The other 50% is lying in the unknown, and is based on your courage to express who you are. And I believe that is a big part of what's made this explode in the way it has, is to say, look, I'm going to design my life, and I'm going to plan my life to the best of my ability based on what I know now. But I'm also going to believe that if I'm true to myself, and by true to myself, I mean, you are willing to fall in love, you are courageous enough to start doing work in other countries. And I think this is probably the most important one. You are willing to start showing the people out there who you really are, and taking the chance of being judged for that. That has an accelerating effect.
What you're talking about is something I'm very passionate about, and it's really about being your authentic self. And it's funny when you talked about that guy who came to you and wanted you to be a spy. It's like, wow, where's
Uh-huh.
that? That wasn't inside you. So there was probably some core values inside of you that said no, and that said yes to your husband, and yes to these opportunities to be to be an entrepreneur. And we find there's such a mirror between your core values and your mission. Some, even if you didn't know your mission or what it was about, there's just a real connection there. Did you find that as this was starting to happen?
Yeah, that's something that was important for me then, and it's important now in what we teach, especially our premium clients, is that, many people who wants to be a business owner, or wants to be a leader, or wants to be some sort of business professional, tend to build their life around their business, or they build their life around their profession, whereas our philosophy is to build your business or your profession around your life. So values comes first. When me and Mike got married, we had our values actually stitched on the back of his jacket with a family crest. Yeah,
Really?
we created we created a family crest for us as a couple, with our values around it, and we got it stitched on his back, because that's our compass. It doesn't matter whether we take on a big client contract, or whether we decide which country to travel to, or taking on a new client and we vetted that client. Every single decision we make gets run past those values, and that's made decisions much easier for us in our lives. And I guess the same principle would have applied when this person approached me in the cafeteria.
So what are your values that you have as a
We
couple?
value love, so that also means that that comes into our service delivery as well. So obviously it's the love we have for each other, but we want to love people. We don't provide solutions to people or service. We love people. We have freedom as a value, so the decisions we make is the freedom to do what we want, with who we want, when we want. We've got the value of intuition. So if we are pressed to make a decision between the head or the heart, we'll use intuition. We'll lean towards our gut feel and what our gut feel tells us. And I tell you, that's not always the easy thing to do, because it can cost you at that stage. It feels like it's costing you a lot of money, or you're making hard decisions, especially if you go, look, that's going to be a really good client, but our intuition is telling us that something is not right there, right? And we have nobility as a value as well. Nobility
Mm.
is to take the higher road. It's not always easy to take the higher road and to do the right thing. You may come to the end of the day and you're tired and you're working with a premium client and you're going, I just don't feel like talking to them right now because, I just don't feel like it, or someone put me in a bad mood. And then you think about that person's experience at the moment and how important is what they trying to achieve and how desperate they are for an answer and how lonely they feel at the moment. And then you sort of put your mindset in the right place to be your best for that person. So that's some of our top values that we subscribe by, and that makes our decisions for us. So that also puts me and Mike in a position to say, look, it's not always about his opinion or my opinion. Let's consult with our value system and let's see what passes through the value system.
That's so neat. I've been married a long time, and my husband and I did the joint mission statement and values together, gosh, about 6 years ago. And it's on our refrigerator.
Wow.
And I forget about it, but I look at it every so often. And people come in our house and like, wow, how did you do that? And I think it just gives you that, as you said, that anchor and that North Star, and that helps you with mindset.
Absolutely.
So let's get into mindset, because you mentioned mindset quite a bit throughout that. And I know that's a passion of yours to talk about mindset. And that's one of your speaking topics as you talk throughout the world. How did you get into a mindset shift that helped you develop your authentic self?
Well, I think first and foremost, Dana, if you're in a leadership position, your private life is over. Because people start looking into what you do, but they start looking into what you say. They start trying to see where you're not practicing what you're preaching. And so that really causes you to do a lot of personal reflection and self-development, right? It really, when you put yourself out there as a leader, and that's why I've got such a heart for a leader, because being a leader means that your mistakes now has much bigger consequences than a person who's not public or not influencing other people. So that means you put yourself on a path of constant personal and professional development. And that's why excellence has become such an important thing for me, because we're not just teaching personal and professional development. Me and Mike are constantly ensuring that we are showing up as the best version of ourselves, and that the person today is a better version than the person yesterday. So that is what we subscribe by. I'm not going to say to a person, look, you need to start your morning with the golden hour. But then, I'm sort of not starting my day with the golden hour. And, there's no use in me saying to people, look, you have to make space in your life by removing some of the things so that you can be lighter and so that you can actually make more of an impact. But if they come to my desk, it's so heavy and I have a to-do list that's so long. And actually in the evenings, I'm sitting with dark circles under my eyes and I'm burnt out. So that for me is authenticity. Authenticity is not, are you impressing the people in your community or the people that you have a sphere of influence over. Authenticity for me is what the people behind the scenes think about you, where they can't really see. You might stand at the front and go, I'm Landi Jac and I've got a following on LinkedIn and I swan around the world, whatever. Meantime, half an hour ago, I treated my husband appallingly in a fight we had because of the fact that we can't communicate. That for me is authenticity, and that's where we hold ourselves we hold ourselves accountable all the time. It's not a process I think that's ever going to stop.
You bring up something that I think is real important, and I've learned this in ups and downs of marriage, really having that partner that you give them permission to say, will you tell me when I'm off base? Or will you tell me, or let me run this by you because I'm getting ready to say this to somebody and it's a hard thing for me to say. And I just need you to listen and tell me if this is right. And it doesn't have to always be a spouse. It could be a business partner. It could be just an accountability buddy. But I think we just can't do this alone.
Yeah, we can't. No, I think we we're a human specimen, yeah, if you may, and
Mhm.
it's incredibly helpful if you have a confidant like that. The sad part for me is most people don't, and so I
Mhm.
encourage people to either give love a chance, because I think having a partner like that is an incredible experience from a romance point of view, but also from a personal development point of view. But you can't do things alone. And I think what makes me sad is, when we take in a Circle of Excellence premium client, and I call them a premium client because that's the type of client that has direct access to me and Mike and work with us personally. One of their biggest things in my onboarding call with them is that they're sick and tired of making big decisions on their own, and they can't find someone who's a confidant, who they trust, have their best interest at heart in giving them the type of feedback that you just described. And that's sad, because most of the people that come into our community has that problem and that experience.
Mm. And how do you help them with that? As a coach, I think there's more coaches out there today because of this. It's like everybody needs a coach, everybody needs that accountability buddy. But what have you found that have been, as you've worked with these high powered executives and leaders across the world, what is a transformation story you've seen that you've been able to help them with?
Well,
It might be decision making, it might be something else, but what have you
Well, I
noticed?
see many, which is why we do what we do. It's incredibly inspiring. But when a person come into our universe, I would usually not say to them, "Look, you're here now, and we're going to help you achieve A, B, C, and D." Because I mean, our promise to people is prosperity, freedom, and purpose, right? But when they
Mhm.
come into our universe, even though that's the work we do with them, on my onboarding call, I don't say to people, "Look, I promise you prosperity and freedom and purpose." I say to them, "I'm going to try everything in my power to get your trust, because you don't know me from a bar of soap. And I would much rather have you sit by the end of the year and say, wow, I actually trust these two people now to have my best interest at heart. Look, me and Mike don't have children. We're like mommy and daddy in all respect, right? So when someone achieve an award or they do something, we go there like, look how quickly they grew up. It's like we get really into it, because so that trust and building that trust, which only time is going to give you. So I'm not going to get that from that person from day one. That's my job. My job is to get that person to, after a year, say, look, I trust you, because it's in that space that transformation takes place. Yes, I can give you business formulas, and I can give you, mindset things that make you super resilient, and like I used to, or like I like to say, prepare you for war, because that's what life can be like sometimes. And I can do all those things, but having a confidence that you can trust, for me, is what makes me feel I've achieved my goal. So transformational stories, Dana, we get people who come into our business and literally charge a consulting fee, and within months double their consulting fee. I like to get people to price much higher for their products and services. So our success stories is about people thinking they're not worthy to charge X amount for a keynote talk or as a consultant, whatever. And then we really take them and position them for the world or for their target market, whatever. And so what we see transformational stories is consulting fees goes up exponentially, or a keynote talk that was $2,000 become $15,000. What we particularly like is when we see their own family start taking them more serious, because I can position you where your clients start getting very impressed with you and go, wow, you've arrived, and you're going global and you're doing all this stuff. But it's when your partner and your children and your family starts noticing actually what you're doing, where I feel that we're actually positioning you successful. What we see a lot in our environment is a person coming in and they're physically sick because energetically they're not where they are. And so what we like to see is when a lot of weight suddenly comes off a person, and energetically the person starts to change because their confidence is going up, the clarity is setting in. And so those are just some of the stories. I mean, we have clients that wins awards in this environment. We have clients that we've had two presidents of the Global Speaker Federation as our clients. We have Olympians as our clients. We have people who, we have two amputees in our clients whose legs has been amputated, who we are getting ready for global international keynote speakers. One is now involved in, I don't want to mention the brand, but very reputable consulting houses. Some of our clients have clients like the Amazons and the Salesforce, whatever. So we prepare them literally for their next level, and it looks different for different people. But those are the things we see, and those are the things that makes us happy, because it's almost like you're turning the person inside out. You meet them, but there's so much inside that no one can see, but you sense it in them. And then our process helps them to become what I guess they meant to be, which is what they at that stage can't see, but they feel it.
And that's something I think I love to talk about with corporate clients and with friends and family members is, there's just always something from our past, like you said, from the inside that we've been carrying with us. And we don't realize it until we start seeing the pattern. And then once we see the pattern, we can stop it, or we can, and this goes into your mindset, then how do we look at this differently and not take that to our future? So as we look at the future and we look at you all are hosting something coming up here soon, Trend 2035. Tell me about that.
That is a Trend 2035. We used to run one yonks ago. It was called Trend 2020. And so this is sort of the sequel of that event. It is a business acceleration event, but it's got a bit of a tech focus to it, because a lot of people are worried about technology. They're asking about AI. The question is, how will it affect our human experience, and is it going to take some of the authenticity out, whatever. So me and Mike are really a big fan of both. We believe that as humans, we've got incredible potential, and that human connection is incredibly important. When COVID happened, we literally picked up our phones and WhatsApped every single one of our premium clients, asking how they're doing, how their partners are doing, their children, do they have sort of a plan in place for the next few months or whatever. So that human connection, that hearing the other person's voice is so important. But also, and also in doing business, doing business by closing your laptop and going and seeing people is something that we really encourage and promote. But we also believe in the future, and we also believe in technology as enablers, and in the excitement of what lies ahead. And so the whole focus of this event is to bring those two together in one event, to remind people of the incredible importance of the human connection, and what that may be looking like in 2035, what relationships may be looking like in 2035, what delivery to your customer and a customized and a personal experience may be looking like in 2035, but also what enablers and technology may be in future that can actually help you to not only take your business to the next level, but help you as an individual and human being to optimize you for peak performance and for your excellence and talent. So we're bringing that all together. We're getting a bunch of speakers that we've handpicked, and we're getting people in a room, and we're talking about what 2035 potentially can be looking like from a business point of view, a leadership point of view, and a mindset point of view.
I think we're in a really exciting time right now. I have futuristic, my strengths, and I love, just what are the trends, what's going on, and how do we adapt, and how do we be ready? And I was telling my husband last night, I was up late working on a project and writing, and I loved having AI because it helps us go so much further, so much faster. Yeah. But I'm always looking at my authentic voice coming through, and then editing and working with it. And so it's just like having your own little editor. But 3 years ago we didn't have
that. No.
And yeah, it's such a blessing. But how to use it in the right way, that is authentic, and not oriented looking. So it goes kind of to that connecting. How are you connecting with those around you, and then that using that cutting edge technology? Is there any fun facts or anything you want to share of what you guys are learning and thinking about for 2035?
Well, there's so many things, but a few things that I'll share with you is that there's definitely a bigger focus happening, a trend on local. Which is surprising coming from global trotters and global citizens. But one of the trends when it comes to human connection is people are focusing around the world on the local community, the local in-person community, and how they can actually contribute to that community more than we've ever seen in the world before. So that's a very interesting trend that we've noticed. Another trend, and remember when I say trends, I'm talking about us literally going around to the countries and not
Yeah.
asking AI or Google, but keeping our eyes and ears on the ground, asking the waiters and the waitresses and the taxi drivers what's happening in your country. Another trend that may be surprising that we're seeing is a lot of the feminine movements going down. Um, it's cooling off a little bit. So you've seen with that a little bit more of the male support and the male clubs coming up a little bit more again. So I guess the two is trying to balance itself a little bit out. We're definitely seeing that as happening as well. We're also seeing a little bit of a split, a polarization in camp human versus camp technology. We're finding that the midway seems to be gone at the moment, and that people are struggling bridging the two a little bit. So strong opinions on camp human and strong opinions on the camp technology side. We're seeing so many things happening in terms of people also wanting to travel and go around the world and having that experience. So it's a bit of a dichotomy. We see the two opposites. We see massive private members clubs and communities are exploding. It seems it provides people with a house where they can belong. Also, what we're seeing is that people are moving from customizing the client experience to really personalizing the client experience. And that is something that AI is going to help us a lot with. And then, of course, also what we're seeing happening is a lot of the expert falling away, because AI is becoming our expert. So now you go to AI and you say, I'll give you an example. I travel on the road a lot, as we shared with your listeners, and I've been researching for the past 8 years. What is the ideal eating program for a person who's on the road and blah, blah, blah. Then I Google, what is a low FODMAP diet? Then I Google, what is the best thing for me to eat for my height and for my BMI? And so on. So I Google things in silos and isolation. For the first time with AI, I've solved some of my questions about optimizing your performance and health on the road. I've solved it with AI in 2 weeks that I couldn't find answers for 8 years, by prompting AI with things like, this is what I weigh, this is my height, this is my BMI, this is my food preferences, I'm a vegetarian, I tend to be in restaurants all the time, having to wine and dine premium clients, I typically find this on the menus, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth. Come up with 100% personalized solution for me for the road, and it's
that's amazing. Yeah,
it's mind-blowing.
It's amazing.
I'm like, what? I struggled for 8 years to get this formula. I've done 8 years of research. I've read more books, gone onto more sites than probably most people that I know, and AI so AI is the expert now. So where does it leave us? So the trend now becomes more relational for the future and less transactional, because the transactional part is sorted out for us.
I love that. I heard a stat yesterday that for the first time ever, Google's numbers are down for search, and it's because we're using AI for everything. And and how cool it is to use AI and then use different kinds of AI and study them all and figure out which ones work for you. I'm planning a trip right now, international trip, and I am putting stuff in it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is better than I even can imagine. And I love traveling as well. So I bet you're really figuring it out as you travel.
I mean, it's becoming your travel agent. Now you don't need a travel agent anymore, because AI is now your travel agent. AI is now your health expert. AI is everything. So now we're going to start looking at specialized services in our trend prediction differently. We're going to go, look, rather than getting a person who's going to help me grow my business, why don't I get a person who can connect me more globally? It's a different mindset, and rather than getting a person who's going to help me with leadership, why don't I get a person who's going to introduce me to some of the most influential leaders, so that I can have conversations with them, which I can't have with AI, because that's not going to actually do that for me. So we're really in a fascinating time.
You bring up so many great thoughts of what is really going on right now, because it's moving. We're just in another industrial revolution right now, and the change of the workplace, the change of everything. And being, how important that is, and being on the road and leadership and all that. So if, as we get ready to close out, I could talk to you for hours
And
about
me
this, but
too.
what is one thing maybe that I didn't ask you, Landi, that you'd like to share with the audience, or something that's just coming up for you right now that you want to share as you think about this current state of the world, where you are, what you're doing, how you're making a difference, and encourage those out there that are difference makers that want to make an impact? What would you say that maybe you haven't gotten to say yet that you'd like
Thank
to
you, Dana.
share?
I think, first of all, I don't want people to be scared. It's a huge statement to make because there's a lot happening, but I want to sort of encourage people to rewind 100 years and go and see where we were then, and try and imagine what it would have been like to say to your husband, particularly husband, because it's them who went to the wars and fought, bye, and see you maybe not, and then say cheers, and there you sit, and you may be raising children, or you're a guy listening to this and you called for service and you're going, am I ever going to see everyone? So we had made progress. There's a lot of stuff that's blowing our minds and confusing us, but that's the difference between perspective and perception. Our perception is the world is exploding, but the perspective is we're better than 100 years ago. So I think that's the first thing I want to just put in there. And I think it's important that our leaders realize that, so that this fear mongering can sort of tone down a little bit. There is stuff to be scared of, but your husband leaving you or you leaving your husband can be just as scary as what's going on in the world. And I think the other thing I just wanted to mention that may add value is that in a lot of work I do, yes, there's business formulas that can be used to improve your business, and there's leadership principles that you're so very well versed with that you can help people with, and there's ways for you to have a better mindset. But at the end of the day, I find the thing that transforms people the most, especially in the leadership space, is them discovering their essence, who they truly are, and what they really came to do on this planet. And when they connect with that in a way that they're no longer worried that other people's going to judge them, and they go through a process that help them find that, because many people have no idea who they are. That's
Right.
when they really start to play a bigger game, and that's really where me and Mike see them spread their wings and fly.
I saw, this is exactly what I write about, is finding your authenticity and just living in that and dealing with and not trying to worry about the other person, right? And not, but I love how you're talking about that. I was just talking to a coach this morning who did a whole mindset retreat like a month ago, and she hadn't done it in like 4 years. And I could just see it in her face when she was teaching it, how wonderful she felt and she was. And it's that essence you're talking about. She was in her true self. And we want that for everybody, right? I mean, that's the golden ticket. And so if you're out there and you're wearing a mask right now and you're stuck, reach out, because there's all kinds of opportunities. I think, Landi, you and Mike have some great tools, and, feel free to reach out to me here, but I just am excited. And I think this is where we all need to spend our time right now, and helping each other take the mask off, right? And find that person. So
Absolutely.
great. Well, thank you so much for being here. What we'll do is we'll put all your information in the notes. So if you guys want to get a hold of Landi and Mike and find out what they're doing and see where they are on their travels and join them, or just connect with them, I know that they would love to connect with you.
Dana,
so
thank you.
Thank you,
for a
Landi.
wonderful conversation.
Sure. Thanks so much for joining me on Dominate Your Day. I'm Dana Williams, and I've loved spending time with you. And if today's episode sparked something for you, go ahead and subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's ready to use their strengths to make a difference. And hey, I'd love for you to stay connected. So visit our website at danawilliamsco.com, and you can get all kinds of resources and inspiration there. Until next time, keep showing up, leading authentically, and dominating your day.